Good morning, students. In this video, we'll start a new chapter, and the name of this chapter is tissue, which is chapter number 6. So, first of all, we will define tissue. That what is tissue? So, simply the group of cells is known as tissue. A group of cells that are similar in structure and work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. So this is the definition of tissue. So what is difference between cell and tissue? So cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of our body, and many cells they will group together, and they will group together to perform a particular function in our body. So that is known as tissue. So mainly tissue, they are of two types. First one is a plant tissue and second is animal tissue. So simply if any tissue will remain present in plant's body, then it will be called as plant tissue. On the other hand, if the tissue they will remain present in animal's body, then such type of tissue is known as animal tissue. So first we will start with plant tissue. So in this slide you can see the different types of plant tissue it is given. So this plant tissue, it can be divided into meristematic tissue and second is permanent tissue. Now this meristematic tissue they are further divided into apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem. On the other hand, permanent plant tissue, they are further divided into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Now this simple permanent tissue, they are further divided into three different types: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So how we have to pronunciate? Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. And this sclerenchyma is further divided into fibers and sclerites. Now come to the complex plant tissue. So this complex plant tissue, it is mainly divided into two types. First one is a xylem and second one is phloem. So xylem, it is made up of four different components: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. Phloem is also made up of four different types of cells. We can say sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fiber. So a simple straightforward question will come in your exam, that what are the different components of xylem. So what should be your answer? Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. What are the components of phloem? So phloem consists of sieve tube, companion cells, phloem fiber and phloem parenchyma. So now in detail we will study about the meristematic tissue, then we will study about the permanent plant tissue. So now we will discuss meristematic tissue. So how we can define this meristematic tissue? So meristematic tissues are those tissue which have ability to divide. So on what basis we have categorized here? This one will be meristematic plant tissue, this one will be permanent plant tissue on the basis of ability to divide. So those plant tissue which are capable to divide continuously, so they are known as meristematic tissue. On the other hand, those plant tissue which have lost their ability to divide, they are known as permanent tissue. So this is very important point we have to keep in mind. So meristematic tissue are those plant tissue which have ability to divide, which continuously they can keep on dividing and they can produce new cells in the plant body. Now, the growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions, and this is because the dividing tissue, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. So, the growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions. So, in plant's body, so there is a specific regions where we can observe that growth will take place. And why in these specific regions the growth will take place? Because in this specific region the meristematic tissue, they are located, they are confined to these particular specific regions. So only because of these meristematic tissue, so growth will takes place in these certain specific regions of plant body. Now what are these different regions where these meristematic tissue they are located or they are confined? So there are three different regions where the meristematic tissue they will be located or they will be present. First region is the apical meristem, at the root apex and shoot apex, at the topmost part of the shoot and the topmost part of the root, the meristematic tissue will be present, and they are known as apical meristematic tissue. Next is a next region in plant body is intercalary meristematic tissue. So what is the location of intercalary meristematic tissue? So they will be present only at nodes. So suppose that this one is a node. So in this region, the intercalary meristematic tissue will be present. What is the meaning of node? So node is that point on a stem from where the new branches, new leaf, new flowers will arise. So that is structure is known as node, and the space between two node is known as internode. So we have to remember that intercalary meristematic tissue they will be located at the nodes of the stem. And the third and the last type of meristematic tissue is lateral meristematic tissue. So what is the location of lateral meristematic tissue? So they will be present around the stem, so entire length of the stem. So around the stem, lateral meristematic tissue they will remain present. So in this diagram you can see, so this is the location of lateral meristematic tissue, and they will present throughout the stem along the length of a stem. That lateral meristematic tissue they will be present. So now we'll study about what are the different types of meristematic tissue. So depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissue are classified as apical meristematic tissue, lateral meristematic tissue, and intercalary meristematic tissue. So we have just discussed this one. Apical meristematic tissue. Second type of meristematic tissue is intercalary meristematic tissue, and third type of meristematic tissue is lateral meristematic tissue. So what is the function of these meristematic tissue? So they will divide continuously and they will add new cells in the plant body. And very important point is that apical meristematic tissue and intercalary meristematic tissue they are responsible for the primary growth in plant. What is the meaning of primary growth? So if the height of the plant will increase, then this type of growth is known as primary growth. But on the other hand, this lateral meristematic tissue they are responsible for secondary growth. So what is the meaning of secondary growth? So if the girth of a stem will increase, then it is known as secondary growth. Girth means the thickness of the stem will increase, then it is known as secondary growth. So a small new plant, a small baby plant, when we plant, so try to imagine the thickness of that small, suppose that mango plant, if we plant a mango plant, then the thickness of stem will be very thin. But the same mango plant, if we will observe after 10 years or 20 years, then the thickness of the stem it will get increased. So this increase in the thickness is known as the is mainly due to the lateral meristem, and this increase in thickness of the stem it is known as increase in girth. So we have to remember that in plant's body there are two different types of growth takes place: primary growth and secondary growth. Primary growth takes place due to the activity of apical meristem and intercalary meristem, but on the other hand secondary growth takes place by the activity of lateral meristem. Now, new cells produced by meristem are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characteristics slowly change and they become differentiated as components of other tissue. So, when the new cells will form by the division of meristematic tissue, so newly divided cell initially they will look similar to the meristematic tissue, but after some time when they will grow and mature, so they slowly they will change and they will differentiated into different types of cells such as parenchyma. Some of the cell they will become parenchyma, some of them will become collenchyma, some of them will become sclerenchyma, some of them will form xylem, some of them will form phloem. So initially the newly divided cell, they will look similar to the meristematic cells, but later on when they will grow, they will mature, they will get differentiated into different types of cells. Apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stem and roots and increase the length of the stem and the root. So apical meristem along with the intercalary meristem, they will increase the length of the plant. The girth of the stem or root increase due to the lateral meristem, which is known as cambium. So the girth of the stem, it will increase due to the activity of lateral meristem, which is also known as cambium. So simple question will come, what is cambium? So lateral meristem is the another name of lateral meristem is cambium. So you have to keep this in your mind. Now intercalary meristem seen in some plants is located near the node. So what is the location of intercalary meristem? So they are located at node and they are also responsible for the internode elongation. The length of the internode, it will get increased due to the activity of which type of meristematic tissue? So answer will be intercalary meristematic tissue. Cells of meristematic tissue are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose wall and prominent nucleus. So this is the characteristic feature of meristematic cells. Simply question will come in exam that write characteristic features of meristematic cells. So what should be your answer? The characteristic features of meristematic cells are the they are very active, they have dense cytoplasm, they have thin cellulose wall and prominent nucleus. So what is the meaning of prominent nucleus? The prominent nucleus means we can easily observe that nucleus. The lack of vacuoles, and these meristem cells or meristematic cells, they lack vacuole. So this is very important point. So which cell organelle will be absent in the meristematic cells? So they lack vacuole. So can we think why they would lack vacuole? What is the reason why meristematic cells, they don't possess vacuole, but the other cells in plant body, they possess vacuole? So the answer is meristematic cells have immense potential to divide. For this purpose, they have dense cytoplasm and thin cell wall. But on the other hand, these vacuoles possess cell sap and provide rigidity and turgidity to the cell. So due to this reason, meristematic cells, they lack vacuole. So what is the function of meristematic cells? To keep on dividing. So they have to divide continuously. But if they will possess vacuole, then vacuole, they will store cell sap and they will make the cell rigid and they will make the cell turgid. So because of these two properties, the cell, they will not able to divide. So the function of meristematic tissue is to divide continuously, but if they will possess vacuole, then they will become rigid and turgid and they will not able to divide. So that's why the meristematic cells, they lack vacuole. So this much only in this video. In next video we'll discuss about the permanent plant tissue. Thank you. Have a nice day.